The shop style web event is back, and there have been quite a few changes to it. Like you can see, it says daily now, and the prices of all the items in the shop have changed. The quantities of some of the items have changed as well. So we can talk about what has changed, if it's good or bad, and then what you should be looking to buy in the shop. So first up, the really good change is that Rift is now worth 40 points. This was really annoying in the previous two shop styles web events because Rift counted for 20 and you had to get on average 400 points per day. So that was 800 points or 800 energy spent into Rift because Rift only counted for 20 points. And that's a lot more than it sounds because stuff like Expeditions and Automaton Tower didn't count for getting points. And any side story counts for 10. So if you're doing like hard mode or hell mode in the usual bi-weekly side story, that's 24 or 30 energy for 10 points. So it was actually pretty annoying to clear the tracks if you weren't using your mail energy, which was a thing that was happening because we kept on getting buff events, so we were saving our mail energy. Anyways, that's not going to be a problem this time because Rift is properly valued. And also, you only need 300 points this time, so it's even easier. Now, the thing about this being daily is I actually don't like this because the reset time is really awkward. This resets in about 2 hours, which is 7 p.m. for me. As for why 7 p.m., this is because web events. If anyone's noticed, the final day of the web event has always ended a little bit early. We would have maintenance at around 10 p.m. my time, and the web event would always close 3 hours before maintenance. So this is consistent. The web event ended 3 hours early. However, the old style web events used to just have the web events reset at reset time, and it was only the final one that would reset 3 hours before maintenance time. Now it resets before maintenance time every single day, which 7 p.m. is a very inconvenient time. So I would much rather have this go back to resetting at our server reset time. This was not as much of an issue in the Senya and Lua versions because we could claim the energy anytime over the 4 days. But now that it's daily, this is definitely a much bigger issue, the inconvenient time. So we can also take a look at the energy, 200 energy per day, same as before, and 120 currency per day. We used to get 1400 energy over 1400 currency over 4 days, which was about 350 currency per day, and now it's 120. But this reduction is going to be relative to the shop. So we have to take a look at what the new prices of the items in the shop are. So like I mentioned before, it was 350 per day, and now it's 120 per day. That is about 34% as much currency as before. So we're going to take a look at the prices and see what they have been reduced by to determine if it's cheaper or more expensive. But first, let us talk about what has changed. There used to be an item here, Greater Artifact Charm, that is completely gone. Next up, the Cove Bookmarks. It used to be 4, and the web event lasted for 4 weeks in the Lua and the Senya version. This one only lasts for 3. So before it was 4, 4, now it's 2, 3. So we do get a little bit less Cove Bookmarks, which kind of sucks. The Molagoros before, it was 3, and now we only have 2. This one actually isn't a huge deal because the old style web events used to also give 2 molas over 4 weeks, so not that big of a deal to me. But I'm not sure, maybe if they go back to 4 weeks, this will go up to 3 again, because there's not really any way to like cut a mola in half. But because this is still consistent with the old style web events, I don't mind this too much. I don't necessarily remember what the old web events used to give for Cove Bookmarks, whether it was 10 or 15, but either way, I'd still much prefer this to just be 1 Cove roll per week. And then the leafs, before we would get 10 leafs over the 4 weeks, now we get 4 over 3 weeks. So this has also gone down a decent amount, as well as the charms. Before we would get 10 of these 3, greater equipment, greater accessory, and lesser artifact, and then 20 of the lesser equipment and lesser accessory. And of course, a slight reduction is expected because it's gone from 4 weeks to 3, but these have been halved, and this is almost half. So this is definitely a bigger reduction than we were expecting, or than there should have been. Because, yeah. Anyways, we take a look at the prices now. So the small Agora used to be 400, now it's 15, or now it's 150. That is 37.5% of the old price. So it's a little bit more expensive than it used to be because our currency is now only 34% of the old one. but smaller gore is still very, very worth picking up. The Galaxy bookmarks have gotten a pretty big discount. This is 28.6% of the old price, currency-wise. So that's better. These two have also gotten a big reduction. These are now 22, this was 22.5% of the old currency price. So compare this to 22.5 to our new currency being 34% of the old one. This is actually a lot more valuable now. I would still say that, well, okay, I'd still say the artifact is worth getting, because at worst you get powder. This one only if you like gambling. This is also only if you like gambling. The gold transmit stones are also if you like gambling. And in terms of value, this has been halved. So the gold transmit stones are also even a little bit more expensive than they were before. The Cov bookmarks are 40% of their old price, so slightly more expensive than before, but definitely still worth picking up. These catalyst boxes don't matter, please don't buy these. But just to cover everything, this is 30% of the old price, so technically cheaper, but still really bad value. And this is even worse value than before, because this is only 80% of the old price. Unequipped scroll, this is 25% of its old price, so this is cheaper now. I'd say you still really only need this if you think you're going to spend enough gold to make up for purchasing this and not purchasing energy or something else. Please don't buy this. But in terms of price, this is 40% of the old price, so slightly more expensive. As for the leaves, this is also 40% of the old price if we're looking at it per leaf. A little bit more expensive, but definitely still worth picking up. So these three I mentioned, well actually technically price-wise these are different now. So the greater accessory and equipment charms are halved price-wise, so a little bit more expensive than before. The lesser artifact charm is 75%, so a lot more expensive than before. And then the lesser charms are 50%, so a little bit more expensive than before. As for these two, it's 60% of their old currency price, so this is definitely, of course, like, energy is energy, you're still going to want to buy this, but the energy is definitely a lot more expensive than it was before, which kind of makes some of the value of buying some of these other items really different, because even if, like I said, this is half of its old currency price, which makes it sound not fantastic because our currency is 34% of what it used to be. But because the energy is more expensive, the value is still going to be relative. In terms of what you should buy, it's pretty much the exact same as before. Mola, Cov bookmark, Leafs, and Artifact Ticket are, I would say, must-buys. The Artifact Ticket might sound weird, but 15% chance for a 5-star artifact, 85% chance for 8 powder is pretty good value. And then there's the ones where if you want to gamble, then get the Galaxy bookmarks, the Hero Ticket, and the Gold Transmit Stones. There is this unequipped scroll, which is really only if you think you're going to use enough gold to make this 50 currency worth. And then the charms are kind of just if you really need them, like if you don't feel like farming unrecorded history or whatever, then you could just buy these. And then the ones that you should definitely not buy is don't buy this, and don't buy this. Also, with all of your leftover currency, you should be buying the energy instead of the gold. So that's it for the review of the new Web Event style. I'd say overall, I definitely like how much more convenient it is to clear. Rift being properly valued is amazing. I don't like it being daily with the really awkward reset time. And the shop, while it feels like the shop has been nerfed, it's still a really good value shop, and I much prefer this to the old Web Event style. We'll see if they do any more changes, because maybe they're still fine-tuning it and stuff, but that's it for this time, and I will see you guys in the next video.